You are taking more prizes than anybody. That's my biggest. That's my thing.
Hello, if anybody has a comment card, you're more than welcome to bring it up to me.
So really quick, as you guys are coming in, just for housekeeping, in the back there's public comment cards. So anybody that's wishing to make a public comment, we just ask that you fill that card out, turn it in to Nikki over here, our deputy clerk, and then she'll give it to the mayor. And then as we get to public comment, she'll call on each of you to come up and make a comment. So, thanks. Right there. Yeah. No, that would have been like the farm of the course, right?
Good evening, I want to, at 6:30, I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we can have a moment of silence for our church. Thank you. Has roll call been taken? Can we start with introductions, please? Chief Will,
Brian Wolf, Fire Chief.
Scott Sutter, Chief of Police.
Don Grice, DPW Director.
Brooke Price, City Treasurer.
Nicole Westerborn, Deputy Clerk.
Ellen Glass, City Manager.
Jerry Link, City Councilor.
Pam Howell, City Councilor.
Mike Gilder, City Attorney.
Elizabeth Armstrong, Mayor.
Brad Dick, Mayor Pro Tem.
Don Hicks, City Council.
Brenda Simon, City Councilor.
Denise Miller, City Council.
We have a special presentation tonight about the mill building update by Jackie Hoist of H2A Architects.
Madam Mayor, Jackie Hoist of H2A Architects is present this evening to give an update on what she and the team have been working on with the mill. There's been a significant amount of progress, and tonight she's going to be sharing that with us. So Jackie, if you'd like to come on up.
Good evening. Thanks for entertaining us tonight with the opportunity to share with you the update.
Jackie, you might have to move that mic down a little bit. Yeah, you got to speak directly into it. Sorry.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, great. The mill project got kicked off August of this year, and we began our process of restoring and rehabilitation plans for the mill structure. We have a list of tasks to go through for that process to be completed. It begins with documenting the conditions of the mill. That includes looking at old plans of the building, walking through the building, looking at the different components. We did some building scanning with laser scanning, testing. We did some structural analysis. These things are all underway in various stages. There's design and code analysis to be done, and a large portion of that is done. Technical drawings for the restoration and rehabilitation, detailing engineering. We're preparing some renderings so that folks can see what the mill will look like when we're complete. Government approvals, and then bidding and construction phases. So you can see the little bar chart there, the percent complete that each of those tasks are. So we'll kind of go through these tasks. We looked at old drawings of the mill and determined whether or not they were accurate enough to reuse. They were not. They were somewhat useful, but we had to do a lot of validation, and that included photography and measuring, which has been done. All the exposed conditions we were able to observe and measure, but the concealed conditions are still underway. Some components have been removed so that we could see beneath them, and others are yet to be tackled. And then we began the historical analysis, evaluating historic photos as well as conditions on site that tell us about the history of the building. In this case, since the old drawings were not accurate enough for us to use independently, we needed to do what we call building scanning. Those are laser scans of the building with 360-degree photography that's done under certain conditions, in which it produces photographs that we can use, that we can actually measure from the photographs. So that's really helpful in validating the existing conditions. So everything that was exposed has been scanned, and things that are still concealed are yet to be scanned. That'll be coming up in the next steps as we enter February. Testing and soils analysis was important for this project. I think you've already been updated on the lean to the building at the basement level, and so this testing and analysis helped us to make some determinations and analysis about how to stop that from happening any further, and how to make sure that we stabilize the conditions. So exterior testing and analysis has been done, internal has been done, and then we're in the process of more recommendations and more consultations. You see there just kind of a little picture of what the soil boring charts look like after they've taken soil borings, as well as some of the interior analysis below the concrete slab that has taken place. The structural analysis is well underway. Things that have been exposed and could be observed have been put into 3D software models to begin to analyze them. Components that are concealed, we will be getting that in February, be able to observe those and make some final determinations and analysis. There were 3 exterior borings that were taken, so that we could understand the conditions of the earth around the building, and 2 that were done inside the basement of the building, so that we could, again, understand more about the conditions that may have been contributing to that lean in the lower level. The design work has been progressing right along. We've worked on general layouts and appearance of the building. We've worked on site design. Some of the detailed areas are yet to be done. Some of the material selections have been addressed, but not all of them yet, and color selections are still underway. Code analysis was important for the building. We need to make sure as we rehabilitate this building for generations to come that we are bringing it up to current code requirements. And so we've been through that with the code that addresses the existing buildings in Michigan as well as new construction in Michigan. Technical drawings are, again, moving right along. We've finished with the concept stages and the schematic stages, and just this week completed the design development stages. We move next into the construction document and specification stages. And you see there just a layout of the proposed building with the new elevator added, the stairwells, and the handicapped accessible restrooms. Some of the detailed engineering that's been ongoing includes the building and the site. Site work will include some updates to the lower receiving area where you used to enter the basement to the council chambers down there. We also have to do some specialized engineering yet to deal with the river side of construction, and we'll have to have a coffer dam to hold back the water so that we can get in there to rehabilitate that side of the building that faces the water. 3-dimensional modeling's been going on, exploring and analyzing different options for the addition to the building. The addition is proposed now on the west side of the building to protect the public view as much as possible from the street side. And we're moving along with that and again, analyzing different options with it. You see there the addition at the left side of the building in that bottom right-hand photograph. Actually, not photograph, 3D model. And then you can tell the difference between the old portion and the new portion by looking at the porch roof, which is shown in red there on the old portion and gray on the new portion. We've begun our processes for governmental approvals with our pre-meetings have happened. We will be submitting to the Historic District Commission, to the Planning Commission, and to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So those meetings are coming up starting the end of January and going through the beginning of March, with our goal to submit for building permits by April 1st. We also note that we do have to get environmental permits for our work on the river side of this project, and so that takes some time. Those permit processes are ongoing, preparing materials to be submitted. Cunningham Limp, the construction manager for the project, will be kicking off the bidding sometime in April, and then construction is anticipated to be May of 25 through March of 2026. Are there any questions that anybody has this evening? Yes.
A couple questions on your soil borings. I see that you went down to, is the one you submitted in the packet?
Okay.
You went down to 3.5 feet below grade. Was that an interior one?
That was an interior one, and what happened was, when they went down, they get to a point where they say they hit refusal, which means they just couldn't go any further because of the stones and other materials that were down in the hole.
Right, because it says you went down through 2 layers of concrete.
Yes, the mill in the 1960s was extensively renovated, and during that time, they raised the floor level in the basement about 2 feet. So they put in a layer of sand and then another concrete floor. And so we had to go through both of those to explore what the conditions were that might be affecting the lean in the building.
Isn't it unusual to find fill between the concrete levels? It says fine silty sand, fine gravels.
Not necessarily from that, fill materials are often under floors of sand or gravel stone, so it wasn't completely unexpected to find things like that in there.
And on your diagram, this one?
The site diagram.
So what is that, looks, I think is a supplemental possibly addition over there? What is that the cement, is that a cement pad?
Let's go to that. I think that's the diagram that you're looking at. So the mill, I don't know if we have a pointer, do we?
It's on there. You hit the, I think it's the middle button.
This is the mill building itself right now. Here's the porch on it. This is the proposed addition. The addition houses the elevator, the second stairwell, and the accessible restrooms. And then I think the area that you're talking about also is down in here. We reference that just as a receiving area because that's the area where the dumpster will need to be located, some mechanical equipment. So that area gets repaved as part of this project because of the disruption with construction.
And then as part of the work too, stabilizing the underlayer?
We need to stabilize the lean in the building and arrest it so it doesn't go any farther. And so the work does include adding what we call counter forts onto the south side of the building under the porch, so it isn't anything that will be seen. And it kind of acts like an anchor to the basement to keep it from leaning any further. We also introduce, there's concrete block walls in the basement right now, but we'll introduce reinforced concrete block walls in the basement, and they'll act like buttresses would on the inside. So those two elements are strong elements in stopping that building from continuing to lean in the future and, again, get it stabilized for many generations. Yes.
Jerry, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Denise?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. The extension of the mill pond, and completion of, when do you think this will be done? So the extension is up to 2026 now, correct?
The addition on the building, yes, would continue through early 2026, probably about March.
And when do you see that it would be ready for the residents?
Ryan, would you like to come up and comment on that? Ryan is with Cunningham Lift, and he is more knowledgeable about how the construction will occur than I am. I'm drawing, he's building.
I'm Ryan Barker, I'm with the contractor Cunningham Linden. Around that same time frame is when it'll be ready to occupy for the tenants or residents that will be moving into that space in that March time frame for that work to be completed.
For March of 2026?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Brenda, you have any questions?
I'm really interested in seeing what that cofferdam is gonna look like. So more to come on that, I'm sure. And your environmental permits, they consider the lead paint and all that stuff, right?
They do, and of course, the environmental folks will be concerned about any paint that might be falling into the river or any construction elements might be falling into the river, so
But
that's
we'll
all
have a
part of it.
process in place to handle that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Tom?
I have no questions.
Brad?
I know I see material selections are still at 50%. On the exterior of the old building, or we still proposing wood, scrape and paint, I saw on the plan.
The old historic portion of the mill will be scraped and painted again, and the new addition will use a cementitious type of clapboard siding, so it can come with pre-finished versus the older portion that'll have to be scraped and painted.
Can use a modern material on the old building.
We can use a modern material on the old building. While we would love to use all wood on the old building, the wood products that we have available to us today are not the same quality and don't have the same longevity as they did 75, 100, 150 years ago. So the new addition will use some modern materials.
So how long do you think the paint will last on this building? I don't know the last time we painted, but longevity of what you're planning on doing, and using it, scraping all the wood down, how long do you think until we'll have to do this? Because we don't get $4 million again, so we need to know that.
We will be specifying paints, working with the paint manufacturers such as Sherwin-Williams is one of them that we work very closely with in doing the proper preparation of the material. If the primers are being recommended, and then with finished products. They'll give us a better idea, but I'm anticipating maybe somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 years. I think it's probably been more than 20 since the last time it was painted. Similarly, synthetic modern materials that we have today, that's about what their finish ratings are as well. So they should be pretty compatible with each other.
Okay, thank you.
Do any of the residents have any questions about the mill? Okay, if you would stand up, state your name, and then ask the question, please. We'll start with Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris Kingan, 857 Beach Buggy. I'm wondering, with the new things you guys have found, I don't know if you anticipated this or not, I'm wondering if the amount of grant money that we're going to receive is going to be adequate to do this job. That's the question.
So we went through some budgeting phases right now, but as the drawings develop and we go through and do a public bid, that's when we'll go through and get a better understanding. But as of right now, we're pretty close to go through and utilizing all the funds that we have available.
Next resident, the gentleman. Yes, sir.
Patrick Brower, 522 Aldrich Street. How's this gonna work with the historical part of it? I mean, adding an elevator, adding different materials and addition. Usually these are really strict, aren't they?
We will be visiting the Historic District Commission with this project and seeking their certificate of appropriateness. This is what we would call a restoration of the mill portion and a rehabilitation. So when we rehabilitate a historic building, it means that we bring it up to a point where it might meet our modern expectations for a building, such as handicapped accessibility in a building, and that is the prime reason, which is fire safety and accessibility for the addition. So we are allowed to add additions to historic buildings, and the Secretary of Interior Standards, which your HDC follows, gives guidance on how those should be architecturally designed and the treatments for those. And so we're looking at those as we're working on this design.
Any further comments or questions?
I have one quick question. What about that area right around the house? That's to know how you guys are working on it.
Just hang on real quick, sir. There's somebody coming up, and then you can go next. Sorry.
Jay Keltner, 350 Andrea Avenue. I actually manage the Sherwin-Williams fencing, so I would like to get in contact with you guys so we can discuss products and stuff. 'Cause there are products out there now that have, lifetime warranties, or the surface is prepped properly, so. Yeah, I don't know if you have a card or, okay, I can get that.
Okay, sir, if you come up to the microphone, if you can. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Maybe this question, maybe this has already been answered, but I'm just curious, are they still gonna be using the area around the building like during the summer? Like the concerts and that sort of thing, or will that be canceled out for the year?
No, the concerts are at the gazebo area, and we don't anticipate that being closed during renovations.
All right, just curious. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Yes.
Judy Preston from Saddle Valley Court. I want to know, you're doing a design. What are your plans to do with this building? Are you going to turn it to something different than the library when you're doing the construction?
So future future use is still yet to be determined, so council has not went through the request for proposal process yet, that is still yet to come. So what will happen is it'll be advertised for request for proposals, ideas can be brought forward, for future use, and then they would be brought back to council for consideration. So as of right now, none of those decisions on future use have been made. They're just strictly, tonight they're just strictly talking about the renovations and the construction that's necessary and going through that process so we can keep things moving.
So under the construction, if you choose to do this as something different, will there be a code? Say, example, that you wanna make the police station the bottom. Will there be a code for construction on that?
The design process, right now, we've been utilizing a variety of different uses in the building to make those code decisions, including businesses and assembly type spaces and mercantile type spaces. So we've looked at a variety of uses and accommodated the code requirements for those various uses.
All right, thank you. Any further resident questions? Okay, then, we'll be moving on. I wanna see, can we get chairs? Or do we have any more chairs?
There's a lot of open seats up here too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of open seats for anybody in the back that wants to come forward, so.
If anybody would like to have a seat, there's some up here in the front.
Jackie, thank you, Ryan, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Jackie
Yes.
and Ryan.
Yeah. So, and really quickly, Madam Mayor, so tonight, if what you've seen, that Jackie and Ryan presented, we're looking to move it through to the, next steps with the permitting processes and going through approvals from planning commission, zoning board, HDC. Again, not talking future use, that's still yet to come back to the council, but with the plan that they've presented tonight, with the addition, the, ADA improvements, all of those things, if council is okay with that, then we will move it to the next stages, if that's okay. So, everybody's okay to move it on?
Is everyone okay to
No
move?
issues here.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is public hearing, public needs hearing for 2025 through 2027 community development block grant.
So we just need to open up the public hearing, technically it's 6:54, we would open up the public hearing to receive public comments, and I'll give a little bit of an update, as to what we're looking at tonight. So in front of you guys, you actually have a resolution, to, consider later on in the agenda, not right now, an application for CDBG project for 25 through 27. We have a unique situation, with this. So more recently, every 5 years, HUD goes through and does a census update. And in the last census update, geographically, half of the city was designated as low to moderate. Not that half of our city residents are considered low to moderate income, but just geographically, half of our city falls into a low to mod area. $142 for that 3-year allocation. We currently right now have an approved application that's already went through this process of council approval and went through the county approval process. And that's for ADA improvements on the community center for the bathrooms. So tonight, the application that is in front of you is actually for an additional project. Not that we're abandoning that project for the ADA improvements, but we would be considering an additional application in the event the project for the ADA improvements comes in over budget. Then we could allocate the funds then to this application that you have in front of you for senior services, okay? The CDBG funding is very limited on what we can and cannot spend funds on. And because of the low to mod designation in half of our community, we have a little bit more flexibility on what those funds can and cannot be used on, as long as it benefits that, the demographic in that area. Or we can utilize it for senior center operations, things of that nature. The previous applications, whenever they would come before council, because we did not have that low to moderate designation, obviously entire citywide, then they have to be used for ADA improvements, very specific, very, very specific. So we've only been successful with typically getting ADA improvement projects through the process previously. So with this new designation, it does give us a little bit more flexibility, and it does give us the opportunity to, in the event that we abandon that initial project that's already been approved, then we can divert those funds instead of losing those. And I think, Brad, you could probably speak to the allocations, that a lot of times when a community cannot fulfill the project, we don't get to keep those funds. They go back to an allocation committee, then that's redistributed out amongst many other communities. So unfortunately, we're not getting additional funding. It's just allowing us to potentially expand the footprint and allow some.
Allocation committee at the county level gets a pot of money from HUD every year, and we divide it out based on demographics of the community, so that is correct. Anything that is left, if we don't use it, the community loses it. It has to be for that project. If they have anything left over, we transfer it back into the pot. If there's enough money in the pot at the end of the year, we'll put a call out for projects. Again, everybody can submit, like that doesn't happen very often. It's not a lot of money that's actually available for that project, so usually it gets transferred over to Habitat for Humanity or one of the, shelter group rescue operations up in Flint.
So Madam Mayor, right now, we would just want to open it up to any public comments from the audience, and then we would, once they're done, we would close the public hearing and then move on.
Are there any public comments? Anyone? Come on up to the microphone, please.
I'm Monica Larner. I live at 152 West Western Road, Linden. So on the website, it says that the public would be allowed to express community development needs into proposed projects. But in the packet, it's already been decided. So where was, public comment? It's ready for, signatures. And when we come in, we sign in saying that, we attended the hearing. But if it was already decided, why are we signing that we agree with it? There's lots of things listed here. The special assessment assistant, the historic preservation, blight removals. I have some ideas, but, I don't think it's fair that it's just already decided for us and then, pretend that it's we have some input.
Do you want me to try to field that? So as I communicated earlier, we already have an approved project that we're not planning on abandoning. We're planning on already moving forward, which it went through the similar process. We have to go through a public hearing notice of process with the Tri-County. We have to hold just what we are here tonight. We're happy to hear any suggestions that you might have, but we already have an approved project. We're actually putting in an additional application. And this additional application would then potentially be able to expand on our senior services and any necessary needs here. And that's if that initial project is abandoned. So please, if you have any recommendations, I think everyone here is happy to hear those.
Okay, so I had a couple ideas. So like in front of the City Hall, there's 2 parking spots. When you pull up there and the spots are right at the corner, I've seen time and again where it's dangerous for people to cross over. And there's usually, at least in the past, there's been a big vehicle parked there, and so you can't see. Case in point, a teenager was on his bicycle and he was properly watching, but I did not see him because he was covered by the big vehicle there, which, should have been in the employee parking lot as far as I'm concerned. So is there a electronic thing people can cross there safely. You know, I think it's a public service, a safety issue. The other idea was the city hall is in great need of renovations or updating, or, you know, I know 26,000, you know, isn't enough for that or whatever, but I think that's important as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Come on up, sir.
This is open to new business tonight or whatever you want to talk about, correct?
No, this is only specific for the CDBG project.
Okay, I just, I'll be with you. Good.
Anyone further on the public hearing?
So, I'm Denise Los, I'm at 316 Valley View Drive, Linden. So $26,000, I'm still waiting for a sidewalk to go down Hyatt Lane. I would like to see something happen there because I'm trying to walk my dog every day. And I take my life into my hands every day. And it's only getting worse and worse and worse as more and more people travel through our community. It's not safe there, there's no sidewalk, there's barely any type of a road bed there to be able to stay there. There's no shoulder, there's nothing. Why can't we take some of that money? I thought we were supposed to be starting on this with the safe to school pathways in the fall. Fall is gone, we're in winter now, what happened?
So the Safe Routes to School the Safe Routes to School project has not been abandoned. So that'll be coming in 2025. Don, I think you could probably specifically talk more about that, but the project does include pathway down Hyatt and Stan Eaton, so that's still yet to come. So, and that was with a grant that we secured from the Safe Routes to School.
Any further public comment on the special hearing?
Really quickly, Madam Mayor, to Ms. Larner's point, Monica, I do hear you, and I do hear what you're saying in regards to the two suggestions. With this new development, with the consideration for low to mod, the funds can only be used within that designation area. So City Hall, and technically it falls outside of that area. So that's why we have to be very specific with what we're proposing tonight. So, thank you.
I call the public hearing closed at 7:04 p.m. Do we have any correspondence?
No.
Then the next item is public comment. Any person wishing to address the city council during the meeting will get 3 minutes under public comment. When the public comment is approached on the agenda, individuals wishing to speak will be called upon utilizing the filled out comment form. Remarks should be addressed to the presiding officer. It is not time for debate, but for questions or comments for council and for staff. Questions will be answered if the information is readily available. If answers are not available during the meeting, council or staff will contact the individual within 48 hours and respond to the questions within 10 days, or when the information becomes available. So anyone that wishes to speak tonight, if they could fill out the public comment form back from the back. First up is Judy Preston. I want to address the water issue, the water rate, and the way the water bill was handled. If you are going to have a water bill, you need to put an infrastructure bill to the people and a water bill to the people. that is two separate budgets in the plan. Nobody is explaining what kind of bond, how long the bond is here, how long we're gonna have to pay. If it's 20 years, and what I calculated, everybody ought to know right now, it's $20,000 in 20 years out of your pocket.
Monica Larder.
That's it? Excuse me.
She's naming people, sir, she's just reading off the list.
But you didn't answer her question. Is it $20,000? Is that what we're at?
Okay, sir. So, as I read, we have, once public comments is completely over, okay, and that's by law. We have to let y'all speak. That's our job, is to let y'all speak and us to listen, and then we can answer.
I apologize.
It's okay. Monica Larder.
Monica Larner, 152 West Ralston. So, just because I don't have a well, or I do have a well, doesn't mean that I should overlook the fact that the water increase is not fair for the other people. So, hearing that water bills have doubled, and it seems to be tied into the pipe size. So if that's the real reason, then why isn't there a formula for the pipe size to be equal to the people that have the lesser pipe size? That shouldn't be that hard to figure out. So the water usage, should be fair. That's for that. So then moving on to public safety. So last few times that I've spoken, I've not received feedback on that. So we still have the issue with the disregard of speed limits in the city of Linden. So namely Ralston Road and Ripley Road seems to be the one that's the worst, if you want to say that, but it's all over. We have trees and branches blocking signs. Raising the speed limit is not the answer to the problem. We only have one officer on duty at a time, but I see the Linden police cars in Fenton quite a bit. So what's happening with Linden? And then the domestic ducks. So the police, the city of Linden, DNR, animal control, etc., allowed those ducks to roam free in Triangle Park. They are not permitted by ordinance. They were not fenced in, and their eggs were consumed by neighborhood. They were left huddled by the drain pipe trying to get water. So here we are back to the water problem again, to top it all off. The DNR has been sending out warnings about the avian flu, and that can be communicable to humans. So there again is another public safety problem.
Thank you. Marshall Harvard.
My name is Marshall Harder. I live at 6-3 Gamber Lane, in Michigan. My question is, this whole thing about switching from our water to Ann Arbor water. It's like, I feel you folks here are supposed to represent what we want. And I don't think that's what's going on. Because I thought that should have been brought to a vote to the residents. And it wasn't. It was decided by you, which I think is wrong. And it just, besides the water thing, it's like the roads. You don't upkeep the roads. You wait till the road falls apart, then you get a special assessment, put a new road in. But then when you get the cracks in the road, or the potholes in the road, they're not filled in. And then when the weather changes, it heaves the concrete or the asphalt up. So then you gotta put another new road in. And then the next payment, you get another special assessment. That's not right. You know, I've lived in other cities where I live in Shiawassee Shores. When there's a crack in the road, they tar it, so the water doesn't seep down in that crack and cause that problem to happen. And I just wonder why this goes on in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Mark.
Craig Schmidt?
Appreciate you taking my questions tonight, and I apologize for talking out of turn. I know it's gonna be a busy meeting. My question about the water was the bonds that were sold, so hopefully we'll hear what happened there. My other question was, the federal infrastructure dollars that came to the state of Michigan for projects like this, if the city at all got money from that, or still can get money from that. I understand you can. And there's some chatter online that if you go from a 1-inch down to a 3/4 inch water line in your home, your water rates will go down. I'm not saying that's true, I'm not saying it's false. All I'm saying is there's a lot of chatter online about that. And obviously everybody's here to figure out how they can lower their water bills, so if that's something that can be done, maybe we should think about doing that. The other thing is, I'd like to, if I could, see a show of hands from the city council and the mayor, if I'm not out of line, who voted for the water to be changed over. And I don't know if we can do that now, or we can get a list of who did that, but I think it's beneficial to the community to know who's got our interests at heart here. So,
May I speak? We all have your interest at heart, sir.
Okay.
I live right down the street, my water bill went up too. So
Okay.
really, totally understand. And the water was voted on by the last council. All of us were here, yes, and on mine, people are being called out, and it's harassment.
okay, well,
It is harassment,
believe me, I'm far from harassment.
I understand.
I was just trying to figure out
Well,
who voted for that.
I did, and so did the last mayor, and Ray Colbert, Pam Howard, and Heather McDermott.
Okay. And the only reason I asked that is.
And it is in the notes, it is in the meeting minutes on mine.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Really quickly, just to clarify too, and I know we'll try to get to some of the questions that we can potentially answer, but just to clarify, the vote to move to the county water happened in October of 2022, so it's technically 2 councils ago.
Yes.
And the minutes are online for that meeting, sorry. The minutes are online for that meeting, so it'll clarify who voted and who did not.
Thank you.
And that was the October 22nd, 2022, 24th.
I think it's October 24th, 2022, but it would be the last council meeting in October of 22.
You can read all the comments there too, Mr. Schmidt.
Okay. Bill Walker.
My name's Bill Walker, I live in Seven Brook Farms. Of course, I got the same concern as everyone else here does about the water. I just want to give you an example. In March, from March 1st to May 30th of 24, my utility bill was $233.73. The water portion was $91.05. And from September to November 30th of last year, my bill was $436.24 or 26 cents. and the water portion was $289.53. So that's almost an increase of $200 just on the water in 3 months. And I know I didn't use any more water, in fact, I probably used less. And I noticed the one guy mentioned something to do with these lines that going into the house. They're a 1-inch line, but you can have a 3/4 inch line. Is there truth to that? Do you guys know that to be a fact or what?
They can't answer you right now.
We'll answer that in just a bit. I think we're gonna try to get through most of the questions, is that, okay?
Okay, the only other question is, what criteria did they use to make the decision to go to this other water source? I mean, was Linden's water source like unusable anymore, or was it no good, or whatever? What made them decide to pay this amount of money out for a new water source? Because I'm retired, I've been here for 7 years, my taxes have almost doubled since I lived here, and now my water rate's gonna triple. I mean, and I'm on a fixed income. I'm sure there's probably other people here in the same boat. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Scott Ward.
My name is Scott Ward, 602 Silver Lake Court. I'm actually chairman of the ZBA. And I, for one, understand and been digging into and went to the public hearing and understand some of the water problems we had with the low pressure, the lack of water towers we had, growth in our community. And this problem goes back to councils way long time ago. This isn't a problem, your problem. But what I suggest is there any way we could stretch these payments out to make it easier for some of our citizens instead of, 'cause it is a big chunk. We need the new water, but if we could anyway spread this out and make it a little easier for them, maybe some way we can help the citizens a little bit and spread that out, that chunk of change. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara Phillips.
Tara Phillips, 715 Riverside. I suggest the community reads City of Linden H2O System Improvement Letter. States on there, unfortunately, freezing the H2O rates for 28 of the previous 38 years has increased a significant deficient for water systems funding. The average inflation rate during the same period averaged 2.79% per year. As a result, the city lost significant ground on the effective funding for the necessary, maintained, and capital investments on the H2O system. Despite more recent increases in water rates, the city must continue to play catch-up and acquire sufficient revenues to pay for current and future projects. The financial advisor, Baker Tilly, made recommendations for rate increases. You can go through and read the proposal. So my question is, since this proposed rate basically doubles per quarter, which becomes unaffordable to many, what portion of this rate is for future projects? Can we see that broken out? What's our cost? What's the future projects? And is there any way, so you're, according to the letter, like I said, it's going past, the rates for, we're talking about, because rates weren't increased 28 years ago, and we're paying the cost for that. So what's the difference, like I said, what's the difference between, the future projects and the current projects, and can we maybe hold off, since some people are getting hit with road taxes and now this water, can we hold off on those future projects, make that rate go down, a couple years from now? Has the community complained about water pressure? I'd like to know what subdivisions or what businesses, who's complaining about water pressure. I lived in 2 houses here in Linden area. I have never had a problem, but that doesn't mean there isn't a problem. I read the details. It sounds like there is a problem. You guys tested some lines. And what subs would those be in? Can we get a list of the areas with the water pressure issues? I know somebody already asked this, has any federal funding or grants been looked at to help decrease the cost for our community's water bill? After all, this was not this community's fault, this was a lack of governance from increasing the rate for 28 years, which they didn't increase. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Margo Wright.
My name is Marguerite, and I live at 114 North Main Street. I get everybody's angry about the water, but I'm angrier that people in this community are targeting the council individually and not as a whole. I'm gonna answer this one gentleman's question. In October 24th of 1922, it was seconded by the former mayor, seconded by Howard, to connect to the Genesee County water system. Ayes were Wines, who's no longer on the council, Simmons, Howard, Kusan, Colbert were ayes. McDermott was absent, or she's voted no, and Brad Dick was absent. The next time it came up was January the 23rd of 2023. We had a council change. There was 3 things voted on that day. It was Genesee County Water Connection Contracts 1, 2, and 3. It was unanimous, 7-0. Ayes, Kusan, Colbert, Simmons, Howe, Dick, McDermott, Armstrong. The second one was to vote on the second issue. It was also carried 7-0. Ayes, Colbert, Armstrong, Kusan, McDermott, Howe, Dick, Simons. The third phase was also voted as unanimous, and it was the same 7 people. Then on June 26th, it came to the Southern Lakes Phase 2 and Phase 3 water bond. It was, motion was carried 6-0. It was ayes by Colbert, Armstrong, Kusan, McDermott, Dick, Simons, and Howard was absent. But I also want it known that the motion was by Colbert and the second was by Armstrong to approve this. So I'm sick of you people targeting certain people. If you're gonna target anybody, target them as a whole. Thank you.
Whitney Foley.
Whitney Foley, 240 Pauline Pass. So yes, I share the frustration with my water bill. It also doubled, which is crazy in general. But what I'm more frustrated with is that my usage is the same as a couple of my neighbors who are a family of 5, and I'm a family of 1.5. It's just myself and my 2-year-old. So my question is, how accurate are our meters? How often are they getting tested? And what can we do to make sure that these increases stop and we get back to a reasonable amount?
Are there any further public comments? Seeing none, I'm closing this section, and we'll be addressing this in one of the sections of new business. That's where some of these will be answered. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we pass the consent agenda. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, can you repeat who did that?
Pam and Denise.
Denise, thank you.
B.
I can go.
We'll do a roll call on that just to be safe. Mike, what do you?
It's not necessary, but.
Oh, it's not necessary? Okay, oh, cool. I just wanted to verify, thank you.
We have no unfinished business, so we're moving into
New business, resolution number 01-25, identifying 2025 to 2027 Community Development Block Grant Fund Project.
Hey, Brian, could you hit the lights? It's a little hard up here. Thanks, Marta. Sorry. Madam Mayor, so as I already explained earlier, the application that you have in front of you is for consideration for an additional project in the event that our original project is abandoned. So we're looking for approval for the CDBG project, Resolution 0125.
Do any residents have questions on this item? Seeing none? We'll start with you tonight, Brenda.
No questions, thank you.
I'm fine, thank you.
Raj? Lynn?
No, thank you.
Jared?
I'm good, thank you.
Denise?
No questions, thank you.
We have a motion to pass the block grant funding.
I make a motion that we pass resolution 01-25 to approve community development block grants fund project.
Support.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Armstrong,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Lynn.
Silence.
Simmons, sorry.
Thank you, that's okay.
Link.
Yes.
Okay. Motion approved. Moving on to amendment to ordinance section 51-15B of the codified ordinances of the city of Linden and water rate adjustments. Ellen?
So, Madam Mayor, tonight we have in front of you guys an amendment that we're proposing to adjust the repayment for the quarterly billing from 25 days to 45 days. Currently, we send out a quarterly bill, and we felt that because, obviously once quarterly and because of the most recent substantial increases, that amending the ordinance to extend it from 25 days to 45 without penalty until that 46th day would help, alleviate some of this. I know it doesn't make it better, but it's at least something that we can do. One of the things that we did is look at the cash flow, potential cash flow that it might create for the city. And after reviewing that, we confidently feel that this would be, acceptable, and there would cause no issue. And the other thing that you guys have in front of you is a revised amendment to the next rate increases. But after discussions with the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and staff, we're asking council to not consider those amendments to the rates tonight, and allow us as staff to work with our financial advisors to take another look to see if any other future rate increases could be rolled out in a different manner. Hearing, obviously the feedback and things like that, we understand everyone's frustration. My staff has been fielding a number of phone calls since the Thursday after New Year's when the email bills hit. We're happy to field those calls. We're happy to discuss that with anybody. We know that it's frustrating. And as I think Tara, you mentioned, the letter, thank you. We did send out correspondence trying to explain. That being said, we know that it doesn't make it easier or make it better, but we're just here to try to hopefully answer any of those specific questions, and we can get to those in a minute. But tonight, we're asking council to consider the amendment for the ordinance to extend the repayment for the quarterly billing. Hold off on the rate amendments until we can work with our financial advisors, PFM, and then we would bring those back for council consideration, because the next proposed increases were not as significant as this most recent, and they still are necessary in order to pay for the debt and the investment into the new system and the necessary improvements, but those wouldn't hit until, correct me if I'm wrong, Brooke, but April and October was what was already approved, but we've got a little bit of time that we can come back to you guys and see if the financial advisors propose any different structure. So tonight, it would just be for the extension on the repayment.
Do any residents have any question on the extension? Yes, sir, come on up.
It's not a question, but, to your question, City Hall would, I call about maybe making payments, and they accept payments, like monthly payments, like, $100 a month, so it's not a lot.
Sir, can you speak right into the microphone?
I called City Hall about making payments for the water bill, and they'll take payment plans for like, you go pay $100 a month, so it's not all at once. So, I mean, I know it still sucks, but it still helps.
So we do have a number of residents that do pay monthly or
Can we just for a minute, so that everybody can hear everybody, please? Can we just lower the volume for a second, please? Thank you. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, would you like us to try to field some of the questions at this point for some of the other public comment? So, not to put my staff on the spot or anything, but I'm gonna, no, I'm just joking. Don, could you speak, I don't know if you can speak to the meters. I know there was several questions in regards to the meter sizes, pipe size, all of that. So could you speak to that?
So currently in our system, for residential users, we have 5/8 inch meters and we have 1 inch meters. We do not currently have any 3/4 inch meters in the community. So in regard to, can we reduce our meter size from 1 inch to, from what I've heard, I've had calls on 1 inch to 5/8. I talked to the state plumbing inspector, and he said that 5/8 inch meters no longer meet plumbing code. So that's not an option. The follow-up question then becomes, can we go to a 3/4 inch meter? That's not an answer I can give. That would have to come through council, and if they want to consider that, that may be an option. It also, we still, keep in mind, we still have to be able to pay the debt that's out there. So the finance folks would have to run the numbers on a 3/4 inch meter and see how that would have an impact on that payback as well, so.
And then, just to clarify, the bonds that were taken out on the system were 20-year bonds that Genesee County Drain Commission actually bonded those for us, and definitely probably had way more favorable rates than what the city would have been able to do on their own. So those bonds are 20 years repayments. I know one of the other questions was, what are the proposed upgrades? So in the Baker-Tilly analysis, that is in the council packet for spring of 25. April 8th? Okay, thank you. It does discuss what those potential capital improvements are outside of the county water connection. So they included Lindenwood, Ripley, and then water main replacements. We left a placeholder in there because one of the things that we are concerned about is once we take care of the pressure and capacity issues, what that's going to do to our system throughout the city. And so we wanted to make sure that we left enough funding in there to be able to handle any of those potential issues that may come up with a water main break. Don, Brooke, please jump in if you need, if you feel you need to.
That's correct.
Okay, and I'm just reviewing some of the other comments. So one of the other comments was, what areas do we have identified pressure and pressure issues, and do we get complaints? I started with the city in the fall of 2019, and that's probably, besides the road complaints in regards to the road conditions, that's probably the next thing that we field the majority of the calls on is pressure issues, and Don could probably speak to that specifically, those documented areas that we have.
That's correct. There's issues throughout town. Some of the areas that are worse are down in the southeast section of the city, and then some issues up in the north side, north of the water treatment plant. There's issues up that way as well. And just for public consumption, so the recommended standard by the state of Michigan and 10 state standards is that water systems should be between 60 and 80 PSI. Our normal operating pressure, and never below 35 PSI. Our normal operating pressure in the system here is 55 PSI. Very few people get that. And then we have sections of the community that are down in the 20s for water pressure. So unfortunately, we're not within the recommended standards, and we're actually below the recommended minimum.
Hang on just a second. I don't know that we're gonna do a back and forth necessarily, but let me try to get to some of the other answers, and maybe we'll clear this up. So I think, Scott, you asked the question about potentially stretching this out, and so hopefully I addressed that in allowing us to go back to with our financial advisors and look at any future increases and potentially have a different method for rolling those out. So that's something that we're gonna work on. Mr. Walker asked in regards to, is Linden's water source unusable? No, our water, our current water that we get through ground wells is quality. It meets all of the testing requirements and things like that. So it's not a matter of water quality, it's a matter of source, and looking at how we resolve those long-standing pressure and capacity issues. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that we get to everybody that I can to be able to, I think we answered the question on who voted, who did not vote, the bonds. Oh, Don, can you speak to the accuracy of the meters too for the lady that asked in Pauline Penn?
Sure, so the meters in this town are probably about as accurate as you can get, because they had a major meter replacement program that took place, and it was back in 20 and 21. So the meters are very accurate. We do tell residents that if they think there's an error, I'll be honest, I've never seen one in my 30 years. We will send a meter out to have it tested. If it is faulty, we'll pay for that test. If it's not faulty, the resident has to pay for that test. But you know, they're very accurate. So.
Thank you, Don. And to a gentleman asked earlier, he asked why we would be connecting to the Ann Arbor water, and just to clarify, this has nothing to do with Ann Arbor. We're connecting actually to the Carragandi line with Genesee County, and so it's surface water from Lake Huron that we are connecting to. So it has nothing to do with Ann Arbor or I know we've heard Flint too. It's not Flint City water. This is the Carragandi line that comes down 69 and is treated in Lapeer. So hopefully answered that question. And then there was a question in regards to why don't we do a separate billing? So we're not required to do a separate billing. One of the things that we are going to do that our treasurer's actually already started working on, hindsight's always 20/20, right? I'm sure everybody can speak to that. But one of the things that the city has not done in the past has break down the bill to a level of detail that maybe some people would like to see. So in your next quarterly billing, you will see that broke down to a level of detail to show your size meter. Brooke, maybe you can speak to that specifically as to how far it will be broke down.
So we plan on so currently we plan on breaking it down to including the meter size on your bill. Don't quote me on that one yet. We're still in talks with our programmers. We're hoping to get the meter size on there. To the water, it will itemize the flat rates as well as the ready-to-serve fee, and then it'll show the rates for the water, so that it just breaks it down better. On sewer, potentially as well, itemize down the ready-to-serve and then your usage fees. So garbage is self-explanatory, so it's maybe a new format, or we're not sure if we're gonna be able to use the current format, or it's gonna look totally different, which, if there's any questions, myself and Jen, the deputy, are always there.
And then there was a general question about what considerations went into making the switch, and I can start that off, and hopefully our DPW director can help me with that conversation too, a little bit in more detail. Back in '21, we were approached by Charter Senior Living of Fenton Township to service them with water, and we had an interim DPW director at the time, and you know, as we knew that we had documented pressure and capacity issues since the 90s, you know, longstanding issues that had not been resolved. We were concerned about being able to service this development and still being able to meet our own demand. So right away we got to work with our engineers to consider some possible improvements to the system. At that time, we did not know that the county was an option. The county water connection was an option. The option that we were moving forward with was investing in our own system of our own groundwater and expanding our water towers to take care of the capacity and pressure issues. And then I guess, Don, I'll let you jump in here to talk about the county connection specifically. And later on, as we had further conversations in regards to other services, we currently, and for decades, the city has already been with Genesee County for sewer. So Genesee County already handles our sewer. And so this model looks very similar to that method. So when we had went in to discuss with them about sewer, they had talked to us about Fenton Township expanding the water connection and asked for our interest in that. And we did express interest as at least to explore and compare the two options. And so, Don, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, if I could do just maybe 2 or 3 minutes worth of history. So, as city manager mentioned, there were hydraulic analysis done back in the 90s. The city knew that they had issues with fire flows specifically back in the 90s. They had a hydraulic analysis conducted. It confirmed that there were fire flow issues back then. They made some recommendations on what the community could do in order to increase those fire flows. What they were looking for at that time was 1,000 gallons per minute. So if there's a big draw from fire trucks, multiple hydrants being used, whatever it may be, a fire suppression system, the system needs to be able to flow 1,000 gallons per minute in order to maintain ISO insurance rating. They found areas in the community that were in the 500 and 600 gallon per minute range. So again, they made some recommendations. The other report we came across was another hydraulic analysis that was conducted back in 2015 and updated in 2018. Well, what had happened during that time is not enough improvements were made. So not only was fire flow an issue, but they identified the pressure concerns that we were talking about tonight. And that's where they came up with the examination that showed that we were down in the 20s in some of our residential neighborhoods. So again, they made recommendations on things that needed to happen in order to take care of those issues. Fast forward to 2021, as the city manager said, they got with the engineers and said, okay, what would it take to address these issues? Not knowing that the county was an option yet, they started investigating the possibility of building 2 new larger water towers. The way a water system works is your pressures are based on the height of your water towers along with the pump pressures that you're pushing into the system. We could not achieve higher system pressures without replacing the water towers because they're not tall enough, so they would just simply overflow. So they started doing an analysis on what it would take to do that. It included, like I said, 2 new water towers, increase the pump capacity around the community on the different wells, and again, required a significant investment. It was after that we had heard that the county option was potentially available. At that time, the county was trying to make a determination on where they were gonna route water main to feed our neighbors. And that's when they said, potentially we can route this where your community would benefit from it. So we went in that direction. The main reason being is legacy costs. So when you have water treatment plants, when you have water towers, obviously there's a lot of maintenance that goes into keeping those within standards. And everything also has, you know, a life expectancy. And so you have to go through and replace those on a regular basis. Depending on what the component is, some things, you know, pump maintenance, that sort of thing is sometimes in the 10-year range. Water treatment plants, water towers, and all are 40, 60, 80-year lifespan. So one of the things we were considering is, you know, the cost of a water tower today versus the cost of a water tower, you know, 50, 60 years from here. Those are all calculations that you have to consider when making these kind of decisions. The county, being a regional system, spreads those costs out among the region, you know, so not just one entity has to maintain an independent system. So in a nutshell, that was why the council decided to go with county.
Thank you. And then there was a question in regards to grants or additional funding, and so the city has tried to apply for multiple grants and other funding to help alleviate some of the cost. We applied for state revolving fund dollars, and we're on the list. We're just really low on the list. So we don't. Our community does not hit a lot of the benchmarks, unfortunately, for those types of fundings. But so unfortunately, we missed the mark on that. The other funding that we did receive was actually because it was a multi-jurisdictional project with the county. They shared some of their ARPA dollars with us to the tune of 1.5 million. I think it was 1.5, and I see John sitting in the back. John, is that correct? Was it 1.5 million overall with the entire?
For phase 2 and 3.
For phase 2 and 3.
6.5 for phase 1.
Okay. Oh, so it's 6.5 shared amongst. Okay. And then the other thing that we did apply for is appropriations from Kildee's office. That is still a potential. Obviously, Kildee is not in that seat, but I did speak with the office the other day, Jake Bennett from that office, and it is still a potential that we could receive some additional funding to help buy that down. So we're trying as much as possible to look for any type of funding and things like that, not just for the water, but for all things, you know, city. So hopefully that answers most of the questions for that specific tonight. If we didn't happen to answer your specific question, please find us afterwards and we'll be happy to follow up with any individual. So Madam Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you for a vote for the amendment to the ordinance.
Do I have a motion to amend the ordinance 51.15B of the codified ordinances of the city of Linden?
I make a motion that we approve this amendment to allow people.
Roll call?
Howard and Simon. Howard made the motion and Simon seconded. Okay.
Dick?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Simons?
Yes.
Link?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Motion carries. The next item up tonight is the discussion item on the garbage container dispute. Is the gentleman, Mr. Mang, is he here tonight?
Madam Mayor, I think I don't know if he's got a question specific to it.
Can I ask you a question about this?
Yes, please talk to the podium.
Because what the gentleman said are kind of, you said the southeast part of the city has been the worst part probably for the low water pressure. Is that correct? I actually live in the southeast part of the city. Now let me ask you, when are they going to the new water source, and should I see an immediate increase in my water pressure when I go to that source?
So tentatively, we plan to switch over to the county water system in March. Variable factors on that, depending on how other things progress. And no, you will not see an immediate increase, and I'll explain why. So we have an old system that's used to, approximately 55 PSI or less. So what I've discussed with the county is we want them to come in at a similar rate. We want to see how our system adjusts to that new connection. And then we're going to start ramping it up slowly. We'll discuss it depending on how things respond, but maybe 5 PSI at a time. Let it settle on the system for a period of time, make sure we're not seeing any major issues, ramp it up another 5 PSI, so that's gonna be our approach. So it's not like on day one when the connection's made, you'll all of a sudden get that additional, pressure.
Is Mr. Mays or Sarah Banks here if they asked for this discussion item about garbage cans?
So no, this was just brought forward to you guys. You guys have probably heard this before. We've had a couple of residents on Broad Street, yes. Ask for consideration to changing the ordinance in how long the garbage carts can be left out and stuff. Currently, our ordinance does not address a time frame, but it was something that had been brought forward to council before, and council did not act on it. They didn't feel that we had enough of an issue with that and stuff. So there's a little bit of history there with this specific issue, but I know that it was brought to the mayor's attention for consideration tonight, but it looks like those individuals are not here. So I guess maybe at a future meeting, if it needed to be addressed, that's something that could come forward, so.
City manager's up there.
Okay. I'm sure you guys are probably sick of hearing me. Sorry about that. I don't have a ton, and out of respect for everyone's time and things like that, I will just hit a few highlights. Obviously, we're coming back from the holidays. I'd like to thank my staff for all their efforts in these past couple of weeks and things like that with fielding the concerns and questions from our residents and businesses. And again, I'll encourage you all, if you have questions, we have a phenomenal staff. Please come in, please call us. We will try to help navigate the situation. If you know someone who is struggling with repayment, things like that, we will try to help pair you up and point you in the direction of any kind of assistance, stuff like that. So, as the gentleman said earlier, not that it's favorable, but if you'd like to set up some type of a similar budget plan to what you do for other things, our treasurer's department is willing to take different methods for repayment for that. So I just want to throw that out there. Our Civic Plus is live, which Civic Plus is our new notification system. So it is live. I think since we put it out on social media, we've only had 10 people sign up. So sign up, tell your neighbors, tell everybody so we can get people on the system. And so that's going to, go ahead.
Do you want to make a comment about the scan code on the newsletter?
Oh, yes. So the scan code on the newsletter, for whatever reason, is not working. The QR code on the newsletter that was sent out is not working. But we do have that information. There was a social media post. We have the information on our website. And the link, though, the actual web address that is in the newsletter is accurate and working. So I just encourage you guys to go out there, sign up for it. It's just a mass notification system that in the event that we have something that needs to get out to the residents, that we have a format to do that. We already started working on the 25-26 budget. It seems early, but it's really not. We're kind of a little bit behind. So our staff has been well underway. I think I communicated that at previous meetings of working on the 25-26 budgets. And then we've already started planning for summer events, specifically Back to the Bricks. We have a meeting upcoming for this week for the Back to the Bricks event. And so that's really it. I'll leave it. If anybody has any questions for me from council, happy to field any questions.
questions for Ellen tonight?
Thanks, Ellen.
Perfect. Next, we will go to council comments. Denise, we'll start with you tonight.
I have a couple of questions, and maybe, the attorney can answer. I had listened to, or looked at Next Door Neighbor. People were wondering if we could get out of the contract for the water. And I just want the attorney to answer that question if possible.
The contract was approved, as was mentioned, quite some time ago. It has not been brought to my attention, grounds for setting that aside. I'm not aware of any. There was some discussion about whether that needed to be brought to a vote of the people under the charter. When the issue initially came up, I was asked that very question, and my opinion was no, it did not. Section 9.7 of your charter specifically provides some exceptions to a vote of the people, and this situation, in my opinion, falls squarely within that exception.
Okay, thank you. I also have another question, or just a comment. I know that I personally get on the monthly pan, I've been on for the water and my electrical bills. So every month I go in and or online, I pay $100. And that actually gives me a surplus if I had an overage. That does help. And I know the two ladies over here will be definitely helping anybody who'd like that. I went and talked to Don a little bit, and what really scares me is that we might have where, our union block starts on fire again on the other side, and what will we do if we don't have the pressure? I don't know how many people were here that seen the fire in 2007. It was horrific. I was at my house and I started seeing things fall from the sky, and it was like little ashes. And it was horrible. People stood down there and watched the whole union block catch on fire while we had our fire trucks pumping water from the river because the hydrants couldn't keep up. So that does concern me. All of us own homes, and we don't want to have a problem with trying to get water. We're seeing that right now in other states. So I would reach out to the two ladies about getting together and maybe making some plans. I'm getting the same water bill, but I think together, as a community, we can help, maybe make this better. And they're coming up with some ideas that stretching things out. And if you do have any questions, please ask them, because they'll be willing to answer. Thank you.
Brenda?
Yeah, just a few things. Southern Lakes Parks and Rec they're meeting on the 24th, and we'll be talking about the State Bank Trail update. We're still anticipating construction in the spring of 25, so coming up here really soon. Also, I might have misspoke on the vote to go to the Genesee County Water. That was 10/24/22, just so that we're clear on the meeting minutes. And it was Mr. Wines, Colbert, myself, Howard, and Kusan. My last name is Simons. And as was stated by, I think, Marta, Mr. Dick was absent and McDermott was a nay. So just to be clear on that. Now, the only thing I want to say about that is I want to go forward, guys. I want to go forward. We have 4 new council people. I've seen online disparaging of them already and saying hold their feet to the fire. And it's like this constant rally battle cry, like it's us and you, and it's not. It's us and us. Because guess what? We're you. I live down the street. She lives around the corner. He lives across the way in one of the areas that is now getting the new streets. She lives around the corner from me. We're all residents here. Decisions were made about the water because we were, oh my gosh, guys, the data shows it all. And all I can say tonight is look at what's happening in LA. They're canceling people's homeowners insurance. They canceled their insurance 2 weeks before the fires. They knew this could happen. Let's not even talk about the union block. I want to talk about my house, and your house, yours, and yours. I want to talk about your places. We want that water. I want them to be able to come around the corner and it takes them 30 seconds to get to my house and put out that fire before I sustain much damage. Right? Don't you all want that? I want that, and that's why I voted for this, and that's why I think it's the best thing we can do for ourselves. So like I said, I wanna go forward, not back. I don't wanna blame people. I don't wanna sit here and say, we're gonna hold you accountable. I wanna work together. Yeah, I love this. Come on in, ask questions. And be respectful. Like, I've seen a lot of respect tonight, and I am so happy about that. This is wonderful. This is the way to go forward. So if we can do that, that would really make me happy. And, I think that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Brenda. Tom?
I really don't have a voice tonight, so I'm gonna have no comments.
He doesn't feel so hot.
Oh, no. All right, and then we're gonna bounce over to Jerry.
I have just a couple comments, one on a topic that really wasn't discussed a whole lot. I know we switched over to a new garbage company. Some individuals have asked questions why we've not gotten new garbage cans. If your garbage cans are damaged, they will replace them with new garbage cans from their facility. What they did is they purchased the garbage cans from Republic, so we'll continue to use those, but if yours are damaged, they will replace those damaged garbage cans. And then on to the topic of the night, which is the water. I did go in and spend some time with Don and Ellen and several members of their staff to kind of go through this, because I wanted to get a history of where this started, what caused this, why are we at where we're at today. It was a very good conversation, there was a lot of information. My take from it was here recently, since 2021 is when we started identifying what are we gonna do to try to solve this problem. This problem existed since 1999, was identified in 1999. That problem would have been there before, but it was not taken care of. No steps were taken care of to do maintenance on the system, enough maintenance. I'm not gonna say none, enough maintenance on the system. So basically what we're doing is paying for the sins of our fathers, forefathers, right? But also, somebody said it's, really not our responsibility if we were left with that. I'll disagree with that in the fact that, this problem is here. This is our problem to try to resolve. It might not be as pleasant. It definitely is not as pleasant as anybody would like to see, but we do want a lot of input. If anybody has ideas on how it can help them out, it might be able to help others out. We're listening to anything we can. That is why the city decided to move some of this conversation on, to push it down the road, so that possibly we could come up with a better answer for everybody here. It's our problem to solve at this point. Just like Brenda said, we want to move forward. We want to take care of this. It might not be the easiest thing, but we'll do the best we can for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Pam?
As far as replacing the priority gondolas, dumpsters, you can go to the prioritywaste.com webpage. It's, there's a contact us, and could we put that on the webpage or something so that people know right where to go? That I'm one of those that has a damaged gondola from Republic.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm sure I'm not alone, there's probably a lot of us. Okay, thank you. And then Parks and Rec meeting is this Thursday at 6 o'clock here. We have welcoming new members. We're setting goals for 2025, and we're working on our Thursdays in our park. So come one and all and tell us what you'd like to see. We're in discussion right now. For residents that have water bills that are higher than, can the city do something about like helping them with an assessment of their water to see if they have a leak that's obvious or something?
So with our new system that we upgraded to, it's called Neptune, myself and Jen have access into that. We pull it up with your account number or your address. You can always look at your history, your on the newer meters down to hourly use. We do monitor that quite often, usually daily. We're making phone calls, we're sending letters on people that have had leaks. 15 days, I believe, is when we start getting the alert. So we do try to notify people. As little as a toilet running, the seal is on bad and the toilets are running. We do try to make those phone calls. But if you suspect maybe you have a leak, your meters also have leak detectors on them. If you have questions on that, Don could also probably answer some of that stuff. But yes, we could just call us, we can take a look at your use and identify any sort of leaks.
Okay, and then, about the speeding, I agree with Monica wholeheartedly about people speeding, and I was wondering, is it possible to have the speed detector move more frequently? Cause I think it's been sitting on Tickner, near Denise's house for quite some time, and could it be moved?
It does need.
Yeah, just more frequently though, I mean, that way, you know, if it's 2 weeks, that's still better than, you know, maybe you can get everybody in at least a couple months, you know?
Sounds good.
Yep, and, let's see. About the water pressure and all, if we had a better water pressure with more volume, we would still probably have our union block. Unfortunately, we don't. And that pains me a lot, because I like Denise saw that thing burning, that was like my heart broke. So, that was my goal, help this never to happen again. And make sure everybody's safe, first and foremost. I don't know about anybody here, I have family in California, and they're north of their Sacramento area, but that's still horrible. Anyway, I just wanna make sure we are safe, number one. So that's it. Right.
Most things have been said, but, we are considering all kinds of options. Obviously, we're gonna do another rate analysis on the water. We have monthly billing options, things like that. Would anybody like to see a monthly bill?
Yes.
Show of hands, people who like to see monthly bill, because we've considered, that's one of the things we're considering. But, we're trying to figure, okay, thank you, it gives us an idea. 'Cause it would be a lot of extra work for the staff, but if it helps, it helps.
With the increased pressure, are we gonna be charged more for the water?
Well, there's water rate increases that are already approved, and that's what we're looking at rolling out. The problem is the minute we turn on the Genesee County water system, our costs are going to double. Your rates, the rates are already been adjusted for that. We've already anticipated the system being us connecting to the system. So right now, we anticipated a late connection, say December of this year, whatever. The rate we just went to, if we turned on the system, if you look at our rate analysis, the system would have been $13,000 in the hole. It couldn't pay its bills. The water system is not funded by tax dollars. It's its own separate private business, so to speak. It's an enterprise, what we call an enterprise fund. So tax dollars don't go into it. So our water rates are the only thing that pays that bill, and the grants and any kind of money we can get. We put our ARPA money fund, you know, somebody said federal funding, we put our ARPA money that the city received, was $400,000 or so, into that also to try to reduce the debt. And again, we are looking for every possible grant, dollar, anything we can get that's out there that can help us pay for water. You know, the worst thing that we could do is do nothing. You know, people have recommended, you know, have the state come in, ask Flint how that worked when the state came in. You know, we don't want that. That would be one of the worst things we could ever do. I was a proponent of upgrading our system and not going to county water, but that ship has sailed. People have talked about canceling the contract. We've already paid the county millions of dollars. We're not gonna get it back. So, and improvements would still have to be made. You know, they asked if the vote was illegal because I was out of town. No, the vote was perfectly legal. You know, nothing was done illegally. The council was never try to hide anything. I'm glad that people are coming to the meetings. You may not like what we do, but at least we get to hear opinion and talk and interact. You can always email me. I respond to everybody. But we appreciate you. We have to work together. We're all paying the same bills. As they said, I've got the street assessment for my road. I've got the water bill increase. And Mr. Walker, I'm on a fixed income. I feel the pain. I've been here 20 years, and I understand. So please know we are listening, and we're trying. As they said, we're playing catch up for a problem that was been known since 1999. I joined council in 2014. Nobody ever told me we had a problem going on since 1999. We did the water study in 2014-15 with the SAW grants, and we knew we had a water problem. We brought a consultant in to do the rate analysis. They told us to raise the rate 1% a year, we'd be fine. At that point in life, I didn't know what I know now about water. 1% a year obviously didn't keep up with inflation. Didn't do anything for us. So that's where we're at. That's how we got to where we are today. None of us like it. And we're gonna look at everything. You know, the three-quarter meters, somebody said, it's an option, possibly, but there's gonna be a meter cost. And then again, the debt still has to be paid, so we'll have to push that money down the road somewhere to pay it. But if you have questions, reach out. I spent 30 hours of my time this summer going through the Michigan Asset Champion Program, through the Treasury Department, and the Infrastructure Committee for the state. I'll answer any questions you have. But thank you all for coming tonight, appreciate it.
Yes.
So, I want to start off also by thanking all the residents that have come out tonight. I want to thank the ones that have reached out and called, the ones that have emailed. I understand your frustration. I do want to say that. Anytime anything hits in our pocketbooks, wallets, it hurts, and I get it. I have to pay the water bill too. I also do want to take this minute, and I want to thank the staff. We have been working very, very hard, pretty much nonstop, between fielding calls, is that making sure that the correct answers are getting out? Likewise with me, doing the same thing. Also looking for what can we do? So while I understand tonight that 15 extra days doesn't feel like a lot, it is the first piece. It's a starter piece. It doesn't mean we're trying to figure out what else we can do, but that will buy, in some people's cases, not all, another payday. And that's the piece that we were looking at when we did it, giving people a little extra time. So while it's not a lot, it's a start, okay? So I do want y'all to know, I'm not trying to say, oh, take this and be happy. No. But it is a beginning, okay, of something. All right? I also would like to talk real quickly about the water rate analysis, and it's gonna be super brief. I'm gonna hold it up, April 8th, meeting agenda 2024. A lot of what you need to know about your water rates, where your money is going, everything is answered right in this packet, okay? So go and print that out and then go through it. And please feel free to reach out to city staff, reach out to me, reach out to any counselor if you have questions about this. Because this is where there's so much knowledge in here on how we got here right now today, okay? And this was last April's packet from Baker Tilly. I also would like to talk about the speeding. I have had numerous calls on my side of town, and I call that my side of town, i.e. Ralston, Ripley. East Ralston being, specifically It is a huge problem. It has not stopped. It has been a problem since I've been on council. And I have brought up the fact that in the summertime, the kids used my, and adults used my yard as a bike path, so that they can have a safe place to ride their bicycles. So I am asking, please, let's find a way to do something to halt the speeding, because I do not want to see someone get on that end of town. And I'm not trying to catch off guard, just addressing an issue.
May I interject though? We've had, when we put the speed sign each time, it's actually been under the speed limit each time. And that was for a considerable long time, Councilor Howard, and we do need to do this more obviously. I do hear everybody's, what they're saying about this, and we are aware of that. We do about 1,500 traffic stops a year. Accident rates are almost nil in this. We average about 35, 30 accidents, that's a year. But I understand, again, but the speed signs have shown that in almost majority of the times we've had it out, that speeds were under actually the posted speed. So, and they were, one speed, I think we had it out twice or 3 times on the East Wall Street, and it showed that every time. So, but I get it. I understand. I thank you.
And yet again, like I said, I want to thank everybody for coming. Please feel free, if you did not have your questions answered tonight, to reach out. And we will, any one of us will attempt to answer your question. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. And we're not done. We have to go. We are still going. If y'all want to leave, go ahead. We have to pay the bills, and then we'll be done.
Almost done.
Okay.
I have a curfew.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pay our financial bills.
I'll second. Denise.
Armstrong? Yes. Link?
Yes.
Simons?
Yes.
Howell? Yes. Dick?
Yes.
Miller? Yes. Hicks?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I adjourn it?
Can I get signed now?
Counselors, I do need you to sign some paperwork, so please don't leave. Please, any
Paperwork signed, come on up, yeah.
bring your paperwork on up for us to sign.